In 2005, a remote Romanian village became the stage for a horror that blurred the line between faith and madness. Tănacu Monastery, nestled in the Carpathian wilds, was once a beacon of devotion, but the road leading to it was never meant to be traveled. Locals avoided the path, whispering of shapes that followed pilgrims. Some claimed the trees themselves watched. Others swore the fog carried voices, pleas for help or warnings. Yet on a cold October night, a priest and 4 nuns ignored the legends. They believed they were saving a soul. Instead, they invited something older than salvation. Tănacu Monastery loomed like a tomb. Its walls, once white, were stained black with rot. The nuns crossed the threshold, unaware of the silence. No birdsong, no wind, just the crunch of dead wings underfoot. Sister Irina wrote of a heaviness in the air, as if the building breathed. The chapel's icons, once vibrant, now stared with empty sockets. The Virgin Mary's face had been scratched away, yet they stayed. For in the cellar, a young woman named Marisica awaited their help, or so they thought. Marisica Irina Cornici was 23, frail and trembling. The nuns found her muttering in tongues, her nails torn from clawing the floor. She claimed a voice had followed her from the woods. Father Corneanu saw a demon. He ordered her chained to the altar, reciting Latin as she thrashed. But when the candlelight flickered, her shadow did not. It lingered, still and tall, until dawn. By morning, the chains had left burns on her wrists. Or were they claw marks? The exorcism began at midnight. Psalms echoed through the chapel, but the words curdled in the air. Marisica's body contorted, spine arching, joints snapping like dry twigs. Sister Eleanor later described a hum beneath the prayers, a sound that thickened the blood. The flames of their candles burned blue. When Marisica spoke, it was not her voice. It was a chorus. "You think this cage can hold me?" It laughed. "I am older than your Christ." By the 3rd day, the well water turned foul. Sister Irina leaned over the edge, seeking her reflection. Instead, she saw a shape, sleek and white, rising slowly. It had no eyes, no mouth, only a smooth void where a face should be. She fled, but the thing followed. That night, the nuns heard scratching at their doors, whispers in a language older than Latin. Father Corneanu burned sage and salt. The faceless thing laughed from the rafters. The priest's Bible began to bleed. Pages stuck together, ink dissolving into crimson. When he forced them apart, the verses twisted. "You will not fear" became "You will not escape." Marisica, now gaunt as a corpse, began chanting. The walls shook. Nuns collapsed, clutching their ears as the sound drilled into their skulls. And then, silence. The chapel door slammed shut. The key vanished. On the final night, Marisica ceased struggling. She smiled. Her flesh split like parchment, and the air filled with the stench of burning hair. The shadow above her pulsed, tendrils snaking into the nuns' mouths. Father Corneanu screamed verses, but his Bible crumbled to dust. Sister Irina's eyes ruptured as she glimpsed the thing's true form, a maw of teeth, a void where a soul should reside. When dawn came, the monastery was silent. Only the shadow remained, etched into the walls. Authorities found no survivors, no bodies, only signs of violence defying reason, handprints 10 feet high, a habit dangling from the rafters, and a cold spot in the cellar that made breath visible. The official report blamed mass hysteria, but villagers knew better. They sealed the road and burned the priest's journals. Yet sometimes, hikers swear they see a woman in grey near the ruins. She never turns around. Marisica's grave was dug hastily, far from consecrated ground. No mourners attended. No priest blessed the soil. The cross bore no name, as if erasing her could erase what she'd unleashed. But the earth rejected her. Animals avoided the sight. Plants withered. And on quiet nights, a voice hums from below. "Come closer," it beckons. "Let me see your face." Tanaku's ruins still stand. The road remains closed. But the faceless thing, it walks, it watches, it hungers. If you've felt its gaze, a chill in an empty room, a shadow without a source, whispers in a language you somehow understand, you are not safe. Share your story. Email, address, or send a voice note to link. Speak before it finds you. And remember, never look behind you. In the quiet market town of Pontefract, where medieval ruins crumble into the earth, there lies a house steeped in dread. Number 30, East Drive, unassuming at first glance, has harbored a malevolent secret for over half a century. Its walls echo with the footsteps of the Black Monk, a spectral entity cloaked in darkness, whose reign of terror began in 1966 and never ended. Locals speak of the monk in hushed tones, a towering figure with hollow eyes, a harbinger of chaos. To cross its path is to invite nightmares into the waking world. This is no folktale. This is a warning. When Jean and Joe Pritchard moved into 30 East Drive with their 2 children, they dreamed of a fresh start. But within weeks, their home became a prison. Objects moved on their own. Unexplained cold spots seeped into every room. Then came the knocking, 3 loud raps at midnight, a ritualistic taunt from the unseen. Jean Pritchard would later describe the first time she saw it, a hulking figure in tattered black robes standing at the foot of her bed. No face, no features, just emptiness. The monk had chosen its prey. The kitchen became ground zero for the monk's cruelty. Pots hurled themselves off shelves. Sugar poured from the ceiling. Jean Pritchard, a woman of steadfast logic, found herself paralyzed as the entity circled her. It wanted her fear. It fed on it. One night, as Joe Pritchard grappled with a locked back door, the monk revealed its true power. The room plunged into freezing darkness. A guttural growl echoed, "Mine." The family's fight for survival had begun. The hallway became a gauntlet. The Pritchards dreaded walking its length, for the monk's shadow stretched further each night. Claw marks appeared on the walls, deep, jagged grooves that oozed a foul-smelling resin. Diane, the youngest, swore she heard her name whispered from the dark, but when she turned, there was only the monk's silhouette and the stench of decay. Then came the levitations. Philip, their teenage son, awoke suspended in midair, icy fingers gripping his throat. The monk was no longer content to haunt. It wanted blood. Philip's bedroom became a chamber of horrors. Night after night, the monk dragged him upward, his body slamming against the ceiling. Bruises bloomed on his skin like rotten flowers. Doctors dismissed it as sleepwalking, but Jean knew the truth. She'd seen the hand, blackened, skeletal, that gripped her son in the dark. The family fought back. Priests blessed the house. Psychics warded the doors. Yet the monk only grew stronger. It shattered mirrors. It scrawled threats in ash. It was playing with them, and the game was far from over. Decades later, the house still hungers. Paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers flock to 30 East Drive, armed with cameras and arrogance. They leave, changed. Some speak of phantom breaths on their necks. Others swear they've seen the monk in their rearview mirrors, even miles away. In 2012, a team captured audio of guttural growls in the cellar, a sound that left their equipment fried. The monk adapts, it learns, and it despises intruders. Beneath the house lies the cellar, a cesspit of despair. Visitors report being shoved down the stairs by unseen hands. The air reeks of sulfur. Walls drip with black mold that forms words, warnings, curses, pleas. Explorers often flee, vomiting, their skin blistered as if burned. In 2019, a YouTuber spent a night chained to the cellar wall. His camera survived. He did not. The footage shows a shadow engulfing him, his screams cut short by a wet crunch. Authorities ruled it suicide. The truth rots in that cellar. The house never rests. In 2023, it was sold again, to a young couple unaware of its history. They laughed at the locals' warnings. They painted the walls, replaced the floors. But the monk cares not for renovations. Neighbors hear screams at night. The police find nothing. The cycle continues. For the Black Monk of Pontefract is eternal, and it is always hungry. The veil between worlds is thinning. To uncover more horrors lurking in the shadows, subscribe and ring the bell. Your click feeds the darkness. If this tale chilled your soul, like this video. Let the algorithm know the Black Monk demands attention. Share this warning with the brave or the foolish. But remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed.